The next thing we have to do is work out the performance for our departure, and I'm, for the purpose of the video, using the AuraSim application, which again is a superb, very realistic application that I thoroughly recommend. I think it is payware now. It used to be freeware, but it is payware. But to add maximum realism to the sim, I think it's really very valuable resource indeed. So if you can spare the money, I do recommend it. For those of you who don't want to pay to use AuraSim, for those of you virtual Flybe members, you can use the performance data card that I have up on the pilots library section of the virtual Flybe website. So let's enter the application. We select performance, airport. We're departing from Echo Golf Bravo Bravo, which is Birmingham, using runway 15. We're going to use full length for today's departure, so we have no runway reduction. It's a dry runway, and we can use the get weather option to select the correct weather conditions, and those fields are populated automatically, and I can then cross-check in Active Sky Next to make sure that those figures are accurate. So we've got 180 degrees 9 knots, 14 degrees outside air temperature, and QNH of 1021. So QNH has gone down since we last set the altimeter, but those figures are correct. Next, we're using NTOP, the normal takeoff power range, which is correct. We'll use flap 5 for departure, and the anti-ice we're not going to be needing today. And we have an estimated takeoff weight 24708 kilograms. So with all those information fields populated correctly, I'm going to select calculate, and here we have all the correct information for our departure. So we have a total required takeoff run of 1484 meters, and we know that we have well in excess of that for runway 15, with a takeoff distance available of about 3,500 meters. So we're using flap 5, Birmingham, runway 15. That's our takeoff gross weight correctly inserted, the correct torque setting, and it says we have a V1 of 121. That is our takeoff decision speed. So that is the maximum speed at which we can choose to reject the takeoff in the event of a malfunction, beyond which we must take the malfunction into the air. We have VR, which is rotate speed, the speed at which we pull back on the control column, of course, to get airborne. And in the Q400 you'll notice that V1 and VR are usually the same, in dry runway conditions that is. And we have V2, which is the takeoff safety speed. That's our minimum single engine climb out speed of 124 knots. So in the event of an engine failure, we need to be flying at least 124 knots. We have a flat retraction speed of 133 knots, so beyond 133 knots we can retract the flaps. Finally, we have the V climb value, which essentially gives us our best angle of climb speed after flat retraction, and that value is 144 knots. So let's go and feed these values into the aircraft, shall we? So now's as good a time as any to run the before start checklist to the line, which says cockpit preparation complete, fuel transfer off, and we have 1770 kilos on board. Brake and pressure. Brake is on and the pressure is checked. Power and condition levers. Power is in disc, the condition levers are in fuel off. Anti-skid is on, and the altimeters, we have QNH 1021 set on both sides. So the before start checklist to the line is complete. So to set the takeoff speeds into the instruments, we use the speed bug function using this select push button initially, and it highlights V1. We have a V1 of 121. A VR of 121. V2 124. (133) for the flap retraction speed, and finally the V climb showed by the hollow triangle of 144 knots. The V1 rotation and V2 speeds are set automatically on the first officer's side, but you will need to set the flap retract and V climb on his side as well. And at this stage you can see now on the doors page that the doors are closed. The cabin crew have told us that the airplane's ready for departure, all the passengers are seated and ready to go. So at this stage we can select the anti-collision light to red, confirm that the doors are closed on the multifunction display. We have the correct FMA enunciations, the altimeter is set correctly as we've discussed, and we've set the correct speeds on both sides. Passenger signs are on, the APU we haven't started and so the bleed isn't online. We need to just cross check that the engine bleeds are selected off, that's very important prior to engine start. Trims, ailerons are neutralised, we have a little bit of right rudder as we've already discussed, and the elevator trim can be in the central position, and we need at least 26 volts on the bus bars for engine start, and you can see that we have in excess of that on all of the DC bus bars. So we're good to start. Before start check is below the line then, says trims set, doors closed, nose wheel steering is selected off, bugs we have V1 121, rotate 121, V2 124, flat retract at 133 and V climb at 144, and those have been cross checked, and the acceleration altitude is 1340, which is 1000 feet above aerodrome level. Passenger signs are on, anti-collision light red, and the bus volts we have 26 volts on all of the buses.